Have you ever thought about how someone can live in the wild without shops, tools, or electricity? The Hadzabe tribe in northern Tanzania does it every single day, and one of the most important things they rely on is honey. But how do they find it in the middle of the wild? How do they climb tall trees, deal with bees, and get honey from hidden places without any modern equipment? The way they do it is truly amazing. They use old knowledge, follow wild birds, and work with nature in ways most of us have never seen. It's not just smart, it helps them survive. Want to learn more about how people live close to nature? Subscribe now for more simple and powerful survival stories like this. Let's dive in. What would life be like without farming or even leaders? Meet the Hadzabe, also known as the Hadza, a small group of around 1,200 people living near Lake Eyasi in Tanzania. They're one of the last true hunter-gatherer societies in Africa. But how do they still live this way in the 21st century? These communities have roamed the Rift Valley and Serengeti Plateau for thousands of years, living in small camps of 20 to 30 people. They have no chiefs, no written laws, and make every decision together. After marriage, you can live with either the husband's or the wife's family. Sounds simple, but does it work? Their diet might surprise you. While they eat tubers, fruits, and meat, especially during the dry season, their favorite and most vital energy source is honey. It's not just a sweet treat, it's a survival lifeline. But how do they even find it without tools or tech? Language is another fascinating part of Hadza life. They speak Hadzan, a click-based language that's one of only a few like it in East Africa. It's completely oral and considered vulnerable by UNESCO. Even though most kids still learn it, will it survive the next few generations? Since the 1800s, outsiders have tried to change the Hadza. Missionaries introduced farming and Christianity, but the Hadza mostly resisted. Today, they face pressure from tourism, safari hunting, and neighboring pastoralist tribes. Yet, they've managed to hold on to their identity. So here's the real question. What can we learn from people who've stayed true to a way of life we left behind ages ago? While the Hadzabe's identity is deeply rooted in their ancient lifestyle of hunting and gathering, it's not just about the chase or the harvest. Their survival hinges on an intimate knowledge of nature's offerings. Among all their wild foods, one stands out, not just as nourishment, but as a treasured prize that connects them to their environment in remarkable ways. This brings us to the golden secret of their diet, honey. Honey is a key part of their diet, making up around 10 to 20% of their yearly calories. When they go foraging, they can eat up to half a liter of honey in one meal. That's a lot of energy packed into one food. But what makes honey so important to them? Per 100 grams, honey provides 333.8 calories and 82.4 grams of carbohydrates, mostly sugar. While it doesn't have many vitamins or minerals, it's great for quick energy, especially during tough hunts. Honey is easier to find in the wet season because bees are more active and there are more flowers. During the dry season, honey is harder to find, so the Hadzabe eat more meat, which is available as animals gather around water sources. In recent years, programs like Maasai Honey have helped the Hadzabe learn beekeeping. This allows them to produce more honey, helping with both their food supply and earning money. Isn't it amazing how they adapt to keep their traditions alive while improving their way of life? While honey holds immense nutritional and cultural value for the Hadzabe, their ability to consistently access it is nothing short of remarkable. This is where nature lends a hand, quite literally. In a rare and ancient example of human-wildlife cooperation, the Hadzabe rely on a wild bird to guide them through dense wilderness to hidden beehives. So how exactly do they partner with this feathered ally to track down precious honey? Did you know the Hadza people of northern Tanzania have a fascinating relationship with the greater honey guide bird, Indicator? It's not just about humans finding honey. It's a unique, mutually beneficial partnership between two species. But how does it work? When the honey guide bird locates a wild bee colony, it doesn't keep the discovery to itself. Instead, it calls out to the Hadza hunters. In response, the Hadza make a distinct whistle, signaling they're ready to follow the bird to the hive. The honey guide leads the way, and the Hadza harvests the honey. But here's the twist. Once the humans are done, the bird eats the leftover beeswax and larvae. Now, isn't that a clever arrangement? Research shows that when the bird guides the Hadza, their success rate of finding bee colonies jumps by 560%, and the honeycomb they collect is far more plentiful, offering them a richer source of food. But what's in it for the honey guide? Well, the bird gets a feast of beeswax and larvae, something it couldn't access without the Hadza. However, the Hadza have a trick up their sleeve. Sometimes they hide or destroy honeycomb remnants to keep the bird hungry. Why? To ensure the honey guide keeps guiding them in the future. While most of us rely on tools or technology to find honey, the Hadzabe have a secret weapon, the honey guide bird. But once this wild bird leads them to a hive, the real work begins. What follows is a fascinating and deeply traditional method of harvesting honey, passed down through generations. Let's explore, step by step, how the Hadzabe skillfully gather this sweet treasure in the heart of the African wilderness. The Hadzabe have developed an incredible method for harvesting honey from wild bee colonies, and it's far from ordinary. They rely on wooden axes, which are crafted with precision. The Datoga tribe makes the iron blades, renowned for their blacksmithing skills, while the handles are made from local hardwoods like Terminalia brownie, Gobandako, and Lonchocarpus eriocolix, Mpuneko. These axes are vital for climbing trees, cutting saplings, and slashing into tree trunks to access honeycombs. The handles are about 50 to 65 centimeters long and perfectly sized for the job. Imagine climbing a towering baobab tree with just these tools. How would you feel knowing that the honey awaits at the top? But there's more to the story. To calm the bees and make the harvesting process safer, the Hadzabe use smoke. They create fire bundles with a fire drill made from commiphora wood, twirling it between their palms to generate heat. They use dried grasses and animal dung from animals like zebras, warthogs, or even elephants to catch the ember. Once the ember is lit, they transfer it to a bundle of green twigs and leaves, placing it at the beehive entrance. This smoke calms the bees, allowing the harvesters to work. Can you imagine the challenge of working with bees buzzing just inches away, relying on smoke to keep them calm? Once the bees are subdued, the Hadzabe climb the tree using sharpened wooden pegs hammered into the trunk to make a makeshift ladder. They scale the tree with impressive agility, but the danger is real. Falling from such heights is a serious risk. Once they reach the hive, they use their axes to carefully cut into it, extracting the honeycomb filled with honey, brood, larvae, and pollen. The honey is often eaten immediately or shared among the group. The brood and pollen provide additional nourishment, making the entire process an important part of their diet. Before we explore the fascinating diversity of bees and the unique structures they call home, it's important to understand how the Hadzabe interact with them. Their honey harvesting process isn't just practical, it's deeply cultural, shaped by generations of experience. Now that you've seen how they skillfully extract this golden resource, let's dive into the different types of bees and beehives that make such an extraordinary relationship possible in Hadzabe territory. Did you know that the Hadzabe people have a deep knowledge of bees and beekeeping? They've documented 6 species of stingless bees, genus Trigona, that play a vital role in their honey hunting culture. These bees are small, can't sting effectively, and nest in hollow trees. The 6 species they've identified include Trigona ruspoli, Canoa, Trigona gribodoi, Tsunako, Lestrimelita cubiceps, Bambahau, Trigona erythra junodi, Enateco, Trigona becari, Mulangeco, and Trigona denoiti, Lulindi. But did you know that Tanzania also hosts 3 subspecies of the western honeybee, Apis mellifera? There's Apis mellifera scutellata, found inland near Hadzabe lands, Apis mellifera litorea, living in coastal regions, and Apis mellifera monticola, which thrives in high-altitude areas like Mount Kilimanjaro. Unlike the wild stingless bees, these honeybees are kept in managed hives. What's even more fascinating is the traditional beekeeping methods the Hadzabe use. They rely on natural hives, mostly stingless bee nests in tree hollows. But across the rest of Tanzania, you'll find various hive types like log hives, top bar hives, and even bark hives. Despite modern beekeeping techniques, many beekeepers prefer these traditional hives for the unique, unfiltered honey they produce. Tanzania has the potential to produce 138,000 tons of honey annually, but only 9,800 tons are harvested. What's holding back the beekeeping industry from reaching its full potential? Before we dive into how the Hadzabe consume honey and bee larvae, it's important to understand the bees they interact with. Each species and its unique hives plays a role in shaping the Hadzabe's harvesting methods, from aggressive stingers to elusive wild bees hidden high in baobab trees. These buzzing creatures determine when, where, and how honey is gathered, setting the stage for the tribe's fascinating consumption rituals. We hope you're loving it. Subscribe and hit the bell to stay updated. How did ancient tribes make the most of something as simple as honey? For them, honey isn't just a sweet treat, it's a vital part of their survival. After a successful honey hunt, the collected honey, brood, and pollen are brought back to camp and shared with everyone. no matter their age or gender. Why? In Hadza culture, everyone has access to these precious resources, strengthening their sense of unity and survival. It's more than just sharing food, it's about fostering community. But what makes this honey so special? The Hadza consume it in its raw form, straight from the hive. Honey is also used as a medicine. It's not just for nutrition, it's used to treat things like coughs and wounds, showcasing how valuable it is beyond just being food. So what can we learn from the Hadza's use of honey and bee larvae? It's a practice that's not just about eating, it's about connection to nature, communal living, and utilizing the land's resources in ways that are both sustainable and healing. Isn't it fascinating how one food can have so many purposes? While the Hadzabe have mastered the art of harvesting honey and bee larvae with remarkable skill, they don't do it alone. Their deep connection to nature has led to a unique alliance with an unexpected partner, one that guides them to treasure. This relationship goes beyond survival. It's a rare example of mutual benefit between species. So, how does a wild bird help the Hadzabe find honey with such precision? What if a wild bird could guide you straight to nature's sweetest treasure, honey? For the Hadzabe people of Tanzania, this isn't just a fantasy, it's a daily reality, thanks to their incredible partnership with the greater honey guide bird. This small bird doesn't just fly around aimlessly, it leads Hadzabe hunters to hidden beehives deep in the African bush. Once the Hadza collect the honey, they leave behind the wax and larvae, exactly what the honey guide craves. Sounds like a perfect trade, right? What makes this relationship even more remarkable is the respect the Hadzabe show for nature. Their harvesting methods are deeply sustainable and balanced. The Hadzabe tribe has been living sustainably for over 40,000 years. But how do they do it? One of their most fascinating practices is sustainable honey harvesting. This ancient tribe has developed a deep connection with the environment, and their methods are a perfect example of how people can thrive while protecting nature. But there's more. In 2011, the Hadzabe partnered with Carbon Tanzania to protect their forests from deforestation. Through carbon offset sales, they now protect around 80,000 acres of forest, sequestering 16,011 tons of carbon each year. That's like taking 3,300 cars off the road annually. How's that for environmental impact? When it comes to honey harvesting, they don't overdo it. They practice selective harvesting, only collecting honey when necessary to ensure that bee colonies can regenerate. Instead of chemicals, they use natural methods like smoke to pacify the bees. Finally, the Hadzabe have a sacred view of nature. They don't engage in activities that could harm the environment, like cutting trees or tilling land. They even share their resources like honey, ensuring no one overexploits what the land provides. Isn't it amazing how the Hadzabe live in harmony with their surroundings? Their practices offer valuable lessons in sustainable living for all of us. But despite their harmony with the land, the Hadzabe face growing threats, ones that come not from nature but from the modern world. The Hadzabe people, one of the last remaining hunter-gatherer societies in the world, are facing serious challenges in today's world. But what exactly is threatening their way of life? Tourism is one factor that seems to have both positive and negative impacts. While it brings in economic opportunities, it also drives up land value, making it harder for the Hadzabe to access their traditional hunting grounds. As tourism increases, the competition for resources grows, leading to conflicts with neighboring communities. And let's not forget the land encroachment from agricultural groups like the Datoga and Maasai. With overgrazing and pollution of water sources, their resources are rapidly diminishing. So, can tourism ever truly benefit indigenous communities, or is it more harmful in the long run? In response, the Tanzanian government granted Hadzabe a certificate of customary right of occupancy for 57,000 acres of land back in 2011, hoping to protect their territory. But is it enough to stop the encroachment? The pressure remains intense. And then there's the looming threat of climate change. Imagine relying on the environment for your survival, and suddenly, everything starts to change. According to interviews, a large portion of the Hadzabe community has noticed warmer years, water scarcity, and changes in their hunting strategies. Flash floods and mudslides have destroyed their homes, forcing many to seek refuge elsewhere. How can a people whose way of life has remained constant for centuries adapt to a world that's rapidly changing? Adding to these struggles, government policies have attempted to force the Hadzabe to abandon their nomadic lifestyle. While the villagization program in the 1970s ended in the 80s, its effects still linger. Farmers and herders continue to encroach on their land, putting their culture at risk. But are the Hadzabe ready to settle down and change their entire way of life? To survive, the Hadzabe are beginning to take on new livelihoods, like beekeeping and poultry farming, to ensure food and income. But are these practices enough to sustain their traditional way of life? Or will they have to completely transform their culture to adapt to modern pressures? While their way of life is under pressure, scientists are beginning to pay attention to the ancient wisdom hidden in Hadzabe traditions. How could something as simple as honey hunting reveal so much about human evolution and health? The Hadza people of Tanzania offer us some fascinating clues. Their practice of hunting honey with the help of honey guides, birds that lead them to hidden honey sources, might just be a living example of one of the oldest forms of human-animal cooperation. But what does this partnership mean for us today? One striking discovery comes from research on the gut microbiome. Studies show that honey consumption has an impact on the Hadza's gut health. Honey samples and Hadza fecal samples share some microbial communities, suggesting that honey helps diversify gut bacteria. Interestingly, this effect seems more pronounced in adults than in children. Could this mean that honey is more than just a sweet treat? Could it be influencing our gut health in ways we never thought of? Looking at the bigger picture, these honey hunting practices give us a glimpse into human evolution. Could early humans have developed such partnerships to survive and thrive? Maybe cooperating with animals wasn't just a quirky habit. It could have been key to acquiring essential resources. So, what does all this tell us about the way we've evolved? How much of our survival was shaped by these incredible, age-old practices? The Hadza's honey hunting isn't just about the hunt. It's a window into the past and our relationship with nature. What do you think? For the Hadzabe community, it's deeply tied to cultural beliefs and gender roles. Did you know that honey harvesting is traditionally a male activity in their culture? A myth exists that a woman harvesting honey is seen as a disruption to the natural order, which reinforces the idea that this task is reserved for men. What do you think this tells us about gender-specific roles within a society? But the role of honey doesn't stop there. In Hadzabe folklore, honey is intertwined with the creation myths. Ishoko and Hain, celestial figures linked to the sun and moon, are believed to have created the world. Their stories are essential in shaping how the Hadzabe view the world and their place in it. Isn't it fascinating how mythology shapes cultural practices? And speaking of culture, the Hadzabe also trace their diet's evolution, from the Akakaanebe, ancestors who ate raw game, to later figures like the Tlatlanebe and Hamakwabe, who introduced fire-roasted meat and cooking pots. These stories show how food and traditions evolve. How do you think these traditions continue to influence their everyday lives today? The Hadzabe tribe's way of finding and gathering honey is really interesting, right? Their close connection with nature and how they survive show us a lot about old traditions. Do you think we could use any of these methods today? What can we learn from how they live with the land? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. And don't forget to subscribe for more cool stories about different cultures and survival skills.